This is the WWNO Classical Network. Hi, I'm Paul Mawson. Each week we check in with Dave Walker and take a couple of minutes and find out what's going on in the museum scene in the region. Dave is host of the Museumgoer.com. Dave, welcome to the program.
Hey, Paul.
So what are you looking at this week?
A museum podcast. 80 years ago, right now, the American home front's attention had turned from the war in Europe, concluded in Allied victory on VE Day, May 8th, to the war in the Pacific. Harry Truman had succeeded FDR as commander-in-chief. Okinawa had fallen, setting the stage for Operation Downfall, the planned invasion of the Japanese home islands. A massive secret operation in New Mexico, counting down to its first major test, would negate the need for that invasion. In a podcast titled 1945, the National World War II Museum makes the case that it was the most consequential year in modern history. The scope of World War II events covered in its episodes supports the assertion. The first episode, subtitled The Beginning of the End, covers early year events like the Battle of Iwo Jima, the Tokyo firebombing, the liberation of Auschwitz, and the Yalta Conference. The final episode, subtitled Post-War World, visits war trials in Nuremberg and Tokyo and explores the impact of the fighting on returning service members. Released 1 week at a time starting in April, all 6 episodes are now available to stream. The hosts are Kirk Sadusky and Donald Miller. Sadusky is a producer for Playtone, the film and TV production company co-founded by Tom Hanks. His credits include the World War II TV trilogy, Band of Brothers, The Pacific, and Masters of the Air. Miller is a historian and best-selling author. Masters of the Air was based on his 2007 book of the same title. They are joined at different times by Doris Kearns Goodwin, Richard Frank, and several other historians. Frank especially is invaluable as an authority on the war in the Pacific. He will deliver a keynote for a museum symposium dedicated to the war's end on August 8th and 9th. Listen carefully to the podcast, and you'll also hear the voices of Patricia Clarkson and Gary Sinise. 1945 is a compelling exploration of the social, political, and operational intricacies of the war's final months, and places an emphasis on the toll suffered by the citizen soldiers who fought it, a hallmark of the museum's approach to the subject since its conception. As the 80th anniversary timeline advances toward VJ Day on August 14th, consider adding 1945 to your podcast options. More at nationalww2museum.org.
I got some star power there. Patricia Clarkson, Gary Sinise. So what roles do they play in the podcast?
It's interesting. They're great friends of the museum. Both of their voices can be heard in the Beyond All Boundaries film experience there. Clarkson's mother, Jackie, was an early advocate for the creation of the National D-Day Museum. Sinise's foundation supports the Soaring Valor program that brings World War II veterans to see the museum. In the podcast, he voices an excerpt from E.B. Sledge's book, With the Old Breed at Peleliu and Okinawa, in episode 1. She reads from John Hersey's book, Hiroshima, in episode 5. Quickly turning to a brief note about public programming, the Museum of the Southern Jewish Experience will host a virtual panel of alumni from the Jewish Orphans Home of New Orleans at 6 p.m. tonight. The history of the home is the subject of a current changing exhibit at the museum. More at msje.org.
We check in each week with Dave Walker and get an update on what's going on in the museum scene. Dave is host of the Museumgoer.com, where you can get more information on anything we talked about and see a video of our conversation as well. Dave, we'll check in with you next week. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Paul. See you again.